This true crime lover killed someone just to know what it would feel like. This is something that happened this year, and it is absolutely mind-blowingly insane. Hi, I'm Meg. I talk about true crime. Let's get into this case. May 27th, 2023 at 3 a.m. in South Korea, a young girl is picked up by a taxi driver. According to him, she looked really young and she was carrying what seemed to be a very heavy suitcase. He offered to help her lift the suitcase into his boot, but she refused. I'm sure we all know by now what's in that suitcase. She gets in the car and he says, where do you want to go? And she says, a park. And he was thinking, what is this high school looking girl doing going to a park at 3 a.m.? Bit suspicious, with a suitcase. So they drive there in complete silence and they get to the park. She gets out of the car, takes her heavy suitcase, and walks into the forest. Because it was 3 a.m., he was a little bit worried about her safety and was wondering what she was up to. So he decided to stick around the park in case she needed a ride back, and he smoked a cigarette outside of his car. Shortly after, she did return, and this time the suitcase didn't seem so heavy anymore. I think you know what I mean, you can really tell when someone's carrying a heavy suitcase versus a really light one, because it almost it's too easy to carry, lifts off the floor and stuff. As he predicted, she actually did ask for a ride to get back to where she came from, and the whole thing just seemed very off to the taxi driver. When he was in the car, he said that he felt pretty unsettled, there was some sort of vibe. Shortly after dropping the girl off, he actually got in contact with the police and told them all about the situation. And it's a good thing he did, because police would end up searching that park, and they did in fact find dismembered human remains. I can't imagine what the driver must have felt knowing that he carried that in his vehicle, but thank God that he kind of picked up on the vibe, because this might have never been solved. It didn't take long for police to find the girl in the back of the cab. This girl was named Yoo Jung, sorry if I'm saying it wrong, and she was 23 years old. Now, her whole entire story is just off-putting. According to everyone who went to school with Yoo Jung, she was... the word shy doesn't even begin to explain. She was shyer than shy. She was a complete recluse. Is that even a word? I don't know. When people would attempt to speak to her, she wouldn't even acknowledge that they spoke to her. She never attempted to make any friends in school. She was just happy living on her own, and she wasn't really sad or angry. Most of the time, a high school student that completely isolates themselves, usually give off a kind of sad or angry vibe, but she was neutral at all times. Nothing really bothered her, and she was never really bullied or anything. It was just her and herself. She wasn't the smartest kid in her class. She didn't really apply herself to much. When she graduated high school, she tried to get a job at this golf course. And when they called her for an interview, they started asking her questions, and she just wouldn't reply. And because she didn't reply to any of the questions, obviously, she didn't get the job. When she found out that she hadn't gotten this job, she was so mad, and she rang them back and swore at them down the phone. And they were like, oh, the only reason you didn't get it is because you don't speak English good enough. That was their kind of throwaway excuse to make her feel better. But this comes into play later. Moving forward to when she was arrested, they asked her, who do the remains belong to? Her initial response was that she had a baby, and then after pregnancy had a psychotic break and killed the baby and buried it. Police knew right away that this was a lie, because the body they found was not one of a baby, but an adult. So already they were like, why are you lying? Police started searching through her phone to find any clue to who this might be, or what the motive might be, were they in contact, etc., etc. But they were shocked when they started searching her phone, and she spoke to literally no one. She didn't have any contacts, she didn't have any friends. She was a fully isolated person, and in 2023, that is hard to come by. One thing they did find, though, was a very interesting search history. Now, it was very clear from her search history that she was very, very, very obsessed with true crime. She loved watching documentaries about serial killers, murderers, all of that, which we all have interest in, but she was very interested. She was also looking up disposal options for bodies and how to not get caught. I'll tell you what, don't Google it if you don't want to get caught, maybe. Police ended up identifying the victim. Now, I literally can't find her name anywhere, so I'm just going to call her V for victim. V was a young woman in her 20s. She was apparently very successful. She went to a very high-class university, and according to what I could read, she was everything that Yoo Jung was not. Between graduating high school and turning 23, Yoo Jung didn't do anything. She kept to herself, literally hardly left the house. She didn't get that job because she didn't speak enough English, and V was an English tutor. Police ended up confronting Yoo Jung and asking her why she killed V. And her initial response was once again fabricated. She said that she didn't actually kill her, but she was disposing of the body for somebody else. And she had a deal with the killer that once she disposed of the body, she could take over V's identity. And then she changed her story again and said that they got in a physical altercation and she ended up killing her. But that's not what happened at all. Remember when I said that Yoo Jung really liked true crime? Now, a lot of us really like true crime content and watching those documentaries, but her angle on it was very different. She kind of had, well, instead of being like, that is awful, oh my god, poor victim, her thought process was, I wonder what that feels like to kill. She wanted to know what the murderers felt like, not what the victims felt like. Like, I think that we all do that to some degree. We think like, like Dahmer. I wonder, what was going on in his head. But that wasn't her. Her was, I wonder what it's like to kill. She was inspired more than disgusted by the crimes. Her fantasy continued to grow into curiosity. According to investigators, she was planning this murder for around 3 to 4 months. And yes, I've restarted my eyes. She ended up meeting her victim on a tutoring website for English. She initially posed as a parent who wanted a tutor for their kid, and she organized a meeting date with V. She then put on a fake schoolgirl outfit and went to V's house posing as the student, and then she stabbed her to death. This woman lost her life because someone was curious. After that, she went to a store and bought bin bags and bleach and then dismembered the body. And now the story loops back around to the taxi journey. And yeah, Yoo Jung ended up being like, yeah, I just wanted to know what it was like, guys. Why are you being so judgmental? It didn't take long to prosecute her because they had all the evidence they needed. They had CCTV footage, etc., etc. And she was charged with a multitude of things. Murdering someone, dismembering of a body, concealing a body, etc., etc. When stopped by the press, she made a very kind of dull speech where she was like, I'm sorry to the victims' families, but it didn't seem very genuine. It was very rehearsed. According to the people who work in the prison that she's in, she doesn't seem to be showing any remorse. On a psychological note, a lot of people believe that during her long periods of isolation, she developed psychopathic tendencies, and she desired the educational and social life possessed by her victim. I really wonder if she was given the opportunity, if she would do it again, or if the one kill was enough for her to know. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this case, so make sure you let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye!